Baruch Hashem. Just one quick thing. All right. Okay. Hi, and welcome to the Parsha class. Today's Parsha class is sponsored anonymously. I want to thank the sponsor and wish only blessings and good things for the person and for all of us who are learning Torah together. The Parsha this week is the first Parsha in the last book of the 5 books of Moses, the first Parsha of Devarim, and begins, just a quick summary, it begins, it's the whole Sefer, the whole book really, is one long speech that Moshe is giving to the Jewish people to remind them of things that happened in the desert and to warn them about things that will happen in the future and to give them blessings and to possibly either give the new laws or remind people of the details of, or give the details of previous laws. So again, the Parsha begins, it's the final month of Moshe's life, and he's speaking and he's giving in a very, very cryptic way, giving hints to some of the mistakes the Jews made in the desert. According to Rashi, a lot of these places that Moshe mentions that they went to aren't actual places. They're actually hints to certain events that happened in the desert, whether it's the golden calf or the spies or some of the other complaints of the Jewish people. The Jews, obviously, he talks about the Jews traveling to Kadesh Barnea, the incident with the spies, like I said, the decree that generation received that they would all die out, they would not get into the land of Israel because they believed the spies. The only people, the only exceptions were the children who were younger than 20, adults older than 60, and all the women, and of the other men, it's just Yoshua and Kalev, who were the 2 spies of the 12 who did not give a bad report but gave a positive report of Israel. So they also get into Israel. There were Jews who ignored the decree and went forward into try to get into Israel anyway. They were decimated, I think is probably the best word for it. And they should have listened. The whole point is just listen to Hashem and things will work out. You know, it's not that there's something wrong with the land, that's why you're not going. There's something wrong with you if you're not listening. So that seems to be the repeated theme. Excuse me. I said a bracha earlier. Moshe also is not going into the land. The Jews will be led by Yoshua, and the last piece of the parsha is where Moshe talks about the defeat of Sichon and Og, and how Reuven, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh received land east of the Jordan River in preparation for the rest of the Jews to go into the land. Now, nevertheless, as we remember from the previous parshiot, we know that Reuben and Gad also promised that they would fight for the land of Israel, even though they're not going to settle in it. They'll fight for the sake of their brethren, and they actually do that, and that earns them the right to take possession of this land east of the Jordan. Okay, with that quick summary, now let's look at the verses themselves and see what very beautiful lessons I think we can glean from our commentaries of years gone by and some current. Let's see. All right, so we'll start with, let's start at the beginning. Why not? The first verse, Aleph. Chapter 1, verse 1 in the book of Devarim, of Deuteronomy, says, Eila hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden b'midbar b'aravam mul suf bein Paran uvein Tofel Levan v'chatzerot v'di zahav. So these are the words that Moshe spoke to all of the Jewish people over the Jordan River. In other words, right, just a stone's throw away from Israel. Right, they're just over the Jordan River. Bamidbar, they're still in the wilderness. Barava, Malsuf, in this Arava place near Suf, between Paran and Tofel, and Lavan, and Chatzerot, and Di Zahav. This is, by the way, one of the places where Rashi points out, like, none of these places actually exist. There's no place called Lavan or Chatzerot or Di Zahav. These are all hints to certain events. Di Zahav, the easiest one to remember, because Zahav means gold. So Di Zahav is a reference to the golden calf. Okay. The Or HaChaim has a question, and the question is Eile, with the verse, the very first word in the parsha, the first word in the verse, the first word in this entire book is Eile. These Eile hadvarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke, which, according to Or HaChaim, he quotes from Chazal that in general, when it says Eile, these are the words, for example, and not ve'ele, and these are the words, as in English, you don't have any kind of connection between this statement and the previous statement. Right? If it would have said, and these are the words, this would connect this book with previous books of the Torah. Right? So, for example, the third book of the Torah is called Vayikra, and he spoke. And there are commentaries, there's reference to why there's a connection to the previous parsha, the last words of Shemot, to what's going to happen in the book of Vayikra of Leviticus. So if it says Eile Hadvarim, that's a divorce. It's these are the words as opposed to what we previously had, which brings up, says the Or HaChaim, a very, very deep question with a very, very deep answer. The question goes like this, or really the statement goes like this. If we're saying that these are the words that Moshe spoke, is that in exclusion of the previous words? Are we saying that Moshe did not say the other words of the Torah? Of course he did. Moshe brought the whole Torah. Moshe kibel Torah Messinai, says the first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. So what is it that we're saying? That these are the words that he spoke as opposed to everything else? The Or HaChaim asks this question, and he gives several answers. His fifth answer is the one that I'd like to focus on today. He says, Od Yirmoz al Zeh Haderech Elipsal Kol Dvarim Chutz Me'ele. So one of the ways to understand this phrase is that it's hinting to this idea that these are the words as opposed to all the previous words. What does he mean? Like I said, this is his fifth answer. He means to say that Shava Hadvarim Elu, V'natan Hakatuv Tam Me'altam Aleph. So he's going to give different reasons. Second. Right. So these are not equal. So they're not shave. Ein hadrega shave dvarim elu. These words are not on the same equal footing as other words of the Torah. The other four books of the Torah are somehow on a different level than this book of the Torah. Right? V'natan hakatuv tam alatam. And this verse is giving reason for these the reasons for this verses or this book's greatness. Aleph. First of all, Asher Diber Moshe. This is what Moshe spoke. Mitzad Ma'alta Mid Hamidaber, meaning that they're the speaker himself. It's Moshe's words. So already that's what makes them greater. She'ein mitzad ma'altan hamidaber, meaning they're greater because of who's speaking them. She'ein kamohu elyon. There's no prophet that's better than Moshe. So already these words are superior to other prophets. Hashem lishmei achav katuv Torah, as Hashem himself proves when he says to Moshe's siblings, to Aaron and Miriam, when he says that Moshe is the greatest of all prophets. This is when Miriam spoke lashon hara about Moshe, possibly. But the second thing that makes this superior, al kol Yisrael mitzad ma'altan nidaber alav uma shlema. The fact that he's speaking to all of Israel. And what that means is the not only is Moshe superior to all other prophets, but this audience is all of Israel. It's the entire Jewish people. How great is that? That makes this a very special speech also. Not everybody gets this kind of audience. Well, I do, but aside from me, not everybody gets this special audience. All right. V'ramez od omru el kol Yisrael. Furthermore, it says all of Israel. Perush lo Yisrael shayu nimtzin niglin sham bador shahu dorahu levad hayu devarim. He spoke to the Jewish people. Everybody who was there, an entire generation, they were all there for this. But really, the main point we're trying to say here is that these words, Elu Hadvarim, separate these words from all other words of Torah. In other words, all other books of the Torah, saying that this is somehow superior. This book is somehow different. This is Moshe's words as opposed to somehow the other books of the Torah. Now you're probably wondering, and you should wonder, how is that possible? The entire Torah was given through Moshe. So this book can't be holier than the other books. It couldn't. Are we implying that Moshe, God forbid, made up this book or the other books, and this book is superior somehow? So this needs explanation. So to give us explanation, we're going to look to Rav Moshe Sternbach in Tam V'dat. Here on this verse, he says, Asher Diber Moshe, and he says, Be'or HaChaim, Kan, Perush, Tevat Ela. He explains the word Ela, Ba, L'ma'at, Rishonut. So this is to exclude all of that came before it. Sha'ar B'chumashim, HaRishonim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Amram. All of the other 4 books of the Torah, Hashem spoke, Ve'elu Hadvarim, Amran Moshe, Mepi Atzmo. And these words Moshe spoke on his own. Ayin Sham Heitav. Look over there carefully. Ukvar Temuhu Al Devarav. We have a big question on his words, right? Ki Chas v'Shalom Lo Markin. It's Chas v'Shalom that we should say such a thing. That Moshe is making stuff up. Ki Ilu Chaser Ot Echad Min Torah. We can't take away one single letter from the Torah. Each letter is precious. Each letter is given by Hashem. Sharei Kol Chamisha Chumshei Torah Nitnu LeMoshe Mepi Hagvura. The entire 5 books of Moses were given to Moses through Hashem, through the great mouth of Hashem. So he's going to quote. We're going to skip this part, but he gives a quote from an explanation from a book called Ot Chaim V'Shalom from Chaim Elazar Shapiro, the Munkatcher Rebbe. In the end, he says that he doesn't really. He says, "Ein kain mishma divrei bal or hachaim hakadosh." This doesn't really fit in with the Or HaChaim very well. So now he's going to give his own explanation of why this isn't the Or HaChaim saying that Moshe invented the Torah, which is a big accusation, seemingly, right? Nira, the Farish Devarov, Ki Amnam Kol HaTorah Mipi HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nemra. The entire Torah was given by Hashem. Ela HaChumash Devarim Nivdal Mishar Chumash HaTorah. But the book of Devarim is unique from all the other books of the Torah. Why? The Elu Shar Chelke HaTorah Namru LeMoshe Shikavtav Kmo Sheshama. The entire Torah was dictated to Moshe, and he wrote it down just like in court, like that. What is that person called? The stenographer, right? So they're taking dictation. There's Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. Hashem is telling him the Torah, and Moshe's like, he's nodding, he's typing, and every single word that Moshe says, that Hashem says, Moshe's just writing down, not his comment, not his opinion, not any mistakes, right? Everything Hashem says, Moshe's just taking down. V'lo higia Moshe lehashagat devarim ele mashmiato mipi hagvura. He's not using his own words. He's just writing down whatever Hashem says. Kedei lechutvan b'Torah. V'rak nevuato b'sefer devarim zacha lo me'atzmo kodem shenitztava l'masor devarim l'Yisrael. So because of his great nevuah, his great prophecy, he predicted, he prophesied what Hashem would say and wrote that down in Sefer Devarim. So Sefer Devarim are Moshe's words that Hashem would have said, but didn't say yet. But Moshe knew that because Moshe is a prophet. Moshe is the greatest of all prophets. So he's already writing it down before Hashem had to say, before Hashem even had the chance to say it. Chas v'shalom, he had the chance. Hashem always had the chance to say it before Moshe was even born. But that's neither here nor there. Ach bevadai kehayom lo nivdal sefer devarim mishar chalki haTorah. The day didn't pass. Right? It didn't happen yet. He's saying Sefer Devarim and he's writing it as it's happening. Hakol b'kedusha Torah shekatav hein, and all of it obviously has the same holiness as the rest of the Torah. V'kulan ke'echad nitnu lo mipi hagvura al yidei Moshe, and everything was given. Through Moshe, through Hashem to Moshe. Sorry, from Hashem through Moshe, and that's what we have. And so the Torah, all of it, all 5 books have equal sanctity. The only difference is, for some reason, and this is worth discussing, and maybe hopefully we've discussed it last year. I saw, but we'll probably in future years we'll since it's not the only thing we're talking about, we'll get to more and more explanation as to why why this book is different than other books. Okay, so I'll just give you just a short explanation, if I may, the way I understand it. There's probably too much to say on this, but and we'll be touching on it throughout the book of Devarim. That's usually what happens. But the short version is this: that the book of Devarim is Moshe's words. In other words, it's more his language, not just Hashem's language. As you can see, just from reading the Torah, you'll see in Devarim it's always it's first person narrative. As if you want to, it's I went there, you went there. Moshe's talking. He's an actor in this particular story, as opposed to the other books of the Torah where we don't really know who the narrator is. We know it's Moshe, but you don't hear it from right. You don't really hear it. You don't hear the voice of the narrator in the other books of the Torah. Right? It's Hashem spoke to Moshe. Who said that? Who's speaking? It's Moshe speaking, but he takes himself out of the picture because Hashem wanted him to. That's how he dictated the Torah. But in Devarim, it's much more personal, And there's a reason for that. It's because Devarim, as we spoke about last year, Devarim is the book where we're preparing the Jewish people for the rest of life, the rest of history. And part of the rest of history is this idea of Torah Shebal Peh. It needs to come from within, it needs to come from us, right? The rest of the Torah that we, as we know, comes from other prophets, and eventually from the Torah Shebal Peh comes from Tanaim, Amoraim, Gaonim, Rishonim, Acharonim, and now down to our generation, where we still have Torah that needs to be said and is being said by the great people of today. But that all has to come from each generation. Okay, we're going to skip all the way to chapter 1, verse 3. That's right, we skipped chapter 1, verse 2. Hold on, put on your seatbelts. All right, I know. Watch out. What? Yeah, not even. Watch out. All right, so Vayihi barabayim shana v'ashtei asar chodesh be'echad chodesh diber Moshe al bnei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Hashem oto alehem. It was in the 40th year. This is the 40th year in the desert, right? The first day of the 11th month, right? The 11th month. What's the 11th month? Yeah. Shvat. All right, Shvat. Unless there's So Shvat. We know that Moshe is going to die on the 7th of Adar, right? That's his yard site. So this is the first day of Shvat, right? A month and a week before Moshe's death. So this is 5 weeks. I did the math for you. All right. So yeah, it's always sad when we get to that part. I always yeah. It's a sort of a downer at the end of the Torah. Yeah. We'll get to that when we get to that. Right now, let's be happy Moshe's still alive and still talking to us. All right. So 40 days, let's start the 40th year, first day of the 11th month. The first day, Dibera Moshe el Bnei Israel. Moshe spoke to the Jewish people, and he said to them, Kol asher tziva Hashem oto alehem. Everything that Hashem had commanded him to them. Okay. So Rashi on this verse points out Milamed, happy birthday. It's my daughter's Hebrew birthday today.
Oh, I was like,
yes, this is her Hebrew birthday.
happy birthday.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Zion Menachem Av. All right. That's why she's called Maria.
Same day of the month as Moshe.
Yes. Also Zion. Yes, correct. Ella. All right. Shaloh Chichan Ella Samuch Lemita. We see that he learned. What is he going to be saying now? He's going to be giving tochacha. He's going to give rebuke. And we see that he learned to give rebuke close to death. Right? He's about to die. He knows that. Like I said, he's going to die Zion Adar. This is 5 weeks before. This is when what's he going to give in this speech? The rebuke. Why? Why is he waiting to this point? Because he has to give the rebuke right before he dies. Why? Why didn't he give his rebuke earlier? So he learned, says Rashi, he learned from others. Samach Lamita, Amar Reuven b'ni, ani omer lecha mipnei ma shechochachticha kol hashanim halalu, kedei shelo tinichenu v'telech tidbak ma'asav achi. So he learned that he's taking this from the Gemara we learned this in the Gemara in Megillah 13b. This is where Rashi is getting this from. Who did he learn it from? He learned it from Yaakov, who said to Reuven, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you tochacha. I'm going to give you rebuke right now of all times, right before I die. Right? Otherwise, you're going to go and join Esav, etc. All right. So, and basically, Rashi goes on and explains all the different lessons we learn about how and when to give tochacha, when to give rebuke, and basically, the trick is don't give rebuke until you're almost gone, which is weird, right? Because you think that there's a mitzvah. You have a mitzvah. You're supposed to give tocha. You're supposed to give rebuke to people, and so you really can't. There's a mitzvah, and like, yeah, do this mitzvah. Only before you die, and if you know when you're about to die. Otherwise, right? Most people don't. So basically, most people can't do this mitzvah. If this is a lesson, if the lesson is give the rebuke the day before you die, ends up most people can't ever do this mitzvah. It's a strange thing, so strange that the Ben Ish Chai wants to ask about it. So he quotes this pasuk, he quotes this Rashi, and then he says, you do a kusha. The question is well known. Hello, Yishana mitzvot aseh min Torah et amitecha. Isn't there a positive mitzvah from the Torah to give rebuke to your fellow? Ve'ech bitlu avod ha'olam et mitzvah hazot. How is it that the avod ha'olam, the fathers of the world, he means the great people of the past, how is it that they or mevatel it, they pushed it off like it's a nothing? Hazal darshu ki achiyuv hu afilu mea pamim. The Gemara in Bava Metzia he quotes says that you're supposed to give rebuke even 100 times until somebody listens to you. He nitain so it's not enough to give with 100 times to give tocha. How is it that you're not able to give tocha till the day you die? Nearly shif. It seems to me that we can explain this like this. We have two different kinds of tocha, two different ways to give rebuke. Yesh mochiach sheinu maskir mufrat et haverot hashonot shel hachote. You can either give direct rebuke and point out all the flaws of the sinner. Say you did this wrong, you did that wrong. Omer lo b'chachliot shemitzvah so tov v'hitrachek min hara. You should stay away from evil. It's bad for you. It does bad things for you. You should only, you should only do b'chozer mifrat b'fanav ma'nikra ra. You should, review what it is. It's ra. What's evil. But often zeh mitorer halo letakin et hamasa. So this way, you tell the person what to do, what's wrong, etc. They can actually change and figure out what the right path is. And that, obviously, if you care about a person, and if the person's going to listen, also an important point, that yachol hochiach afilu mea pamim, that you can do even 100 times. You have somebody who listens to you, trusts you, and they want your rebuke. Then you can do this kind of rebuke even 100 times. So I'll give you a quick example. It happens to be, interestingly enough, this parsha traditionally is the parsha where rabbis retire. Obviously, they announce it beforehand, etc. This is usually the last week that somebody's a rabbi. And this Rabbi Hollander, for instance, yeah, the Parsha Devarim is usually the last parsha, right? And then the other rabbi takes over at Veit Chana. And there's a reason for that. One of the reasons is this: that they want to give like rebuke to the congregation, quote unquote, before they're gone, right? So this is the last chance. They're moving.
Strange way of moving.
It's right before Tisha B'Av too, and so they're sad already. Make the next rabbi take care of Tisha B'Av planning, right? So usually Parshat Devarim is the week that the rabbis retire. I know, on the Young Israel Rabbi WhatsApp group, we're already wishing people goodbye or welcoming new rabbis, because this is the transition phase. So I know Rabbi Hollander was very, very strong about this idea about not giving rebuke unless the person wants it. So he wouldn't go up to people and tell them, you shouldn't do this on Shabbat. You've got to work on this on kosher, this in sniut, or whatever the mitzvah is. He wouldn't mention it to somebody unless he was sure the person would listen, very, very sure the person would listen. And to be sure of that, he wouldn't really talk to people about this kind of thing unless they told him they want him to. Right? So, for example, when I found out that he wasn't, I saw somebody doing something wrong. I mentioned it to the rabbi, right? And I privately, obviously, and didn't want to embarrass the person. And the rabbi said, the person didn't really ask me to tell them about these things, so I won't. So I said, wait a minute. So I said, you're not going to tell people that they're doing something wrong unless they ask for you to? He said, yes. So I said, please, I'm now officially asking you to tell me if I'm doing anything wrong. Right? I want to know what I'm doing wrong so I can fix it. Right? So like that. There was one exception I found. This is recorded. Be careful what I say. But there is one exception, and that's tefillin. Whenever he saw somebody's tefillin askew, he would first of all he would check on himself, make sure his tefillin was straight, and then he would go and tell the person, or motion to the person to fix it tefillin. So I know it's an interesting thing to, it's not the only thing that people are doing wrong. Somebody's got their talit is upside down, inside out, off completely. He wouldn't say a word, but tefillin, he would mention something. Anyway, so that's one thing. And that, if somebody wants to hear your tochacha and you're telling them to tochacha, that you can do even 100 times. But so that's one kind. Right. Okay. And then there is nearly, okay, so that's one. L'umat zot, on this topic, kaimetz sog acher shel tochacha. Now there's also another kind of tochacha. Barol haochiach tzorech lifrat lifnei hachote et kol haverot asher asa. Tochacha kazot nechutza lepami. And then there's the other kind of tochacha, where you discuss to the person who's making a mistake all of the you see the person's all the person's averot, all the person's misdeeds. Tochacha kazot nechutza lepami. This can be done many times. Ulam hi alula lekumam et hachota. You're trying to straighten out the path of the person who's making the mistake. She'enu rotza lishma od. And he doesn't want to hear anymore. Zog tochacha shechayechim ba koatamim haniska rashi. Medua yesh leomra davka samach lemita. So when it comes to fixing the whole person, you don't want to like hammer at them over and over and over again. Right? It's a bigger picture. Your life is a mess. You're telling the person. Everything you're doing is wrong. You're going down the wrong road. You can't tell that to a person over and over and over again. You're going to lose that person. That's the time, as Rashi said, you have to wait till the end of your life to tell a person. That's when there's going to be possible impact. Finally, they'll listen to you. You're saying you're going down the wrong road. Everything you're doing is wrong, etc., etc. That you can't say over and over and over again. This kind of tochacha needs to wait till it's till they're not going to see you anymore, right? And then maybe that impact will change, help them change their life. And that's what Rashi's talking about. It's not like no tochacha is ever allowed until you're about to die, when you might not ever know and you might never give your tochacha. No, it's when you know that you're very sick and this person might listen to you, and you know this person's been doing a bunch of wrong things all through life. You might be able to straighten them out now, maybe. This is the kind of tochacha that Rashi is talking about, and that's what we wait for the end of life to give this particular kind of tochacha. That's the Ben Ish Chai. Now we're going to skip. We need to kind of pick up the pace a bit. We're going to skip to chapter 1, verse 22. Whew. All right, now we got now we're turning some pages. Now we're turning some pages. Chapter 1, verse 22. And this we're getting to the part where Moshe talks about the biggest sin in the history of the Jews, the thing that led up to the first major event of Tisha B'Av. It's this: V'tikrivun elai kulchem. All of you came to me. V'tomeru nishlecha anashim. Send men. This is the spies. Lefanenu before us. V'yachperu lanu et haaretz. They're going to spy out the land for us. V'yashivu otanu, and send them back. Dava, and they're going to send back word at haderech asher nala ba. They're going to send back word about what's going on over there. V'et haarim asher navo alehem, and about the cities that we're going to come to. So there's a lot to say about this, obviously. So we're going to sort of focus in on this in these verses now. So this first verse, it's interesting. Rashi says, "Tikurum alai kucham." You all came to me. Says Rashi, "Be'ir buvia." Be'ir buvia. Irbuvia means mixed up. You all came to me all at once. The young, the old, Ulahan lo who Omar. This he says this also. Alai kol Rashi Shiftehem Ziknechem. As opposed to the Shvatim came, the elders came, the leaders came. Tomru hein heranu goy gomer ota kriva haita hugenet. That was when they came, properly. Here, Yuladim, Kabdim, Etazakanim, the children ran in front of the elders, Shaluchum Lifnehem, and the Zakanim, Kabdim, Etarashim, Lalechet Lifnehem, and the elders came before the people who should have come before them. Khan, Tikavun Alai Kulchem, you all came Buvia, Yuladim, Dochfin, at Zakanim, Dochfin, Etarashim. So all mixed up. So this is a quote from Sifrei. Sifrei. Never mind. Anyway, different midrashim. Asks the Nitziv in Hamekdava. He asks the question. Rashi's pointing out that it's buvia, that they came mixed up, Alan, etc. So he quotes us from the midrash. L'chora, he says, Inyan zeh hamusar al davar kal shehu rak chisaron divrei arche be'otzem tochacha al davar hachamur masa hameraglim. Wait a minute. What's Rashi saying? Rashi's saying that Moshe is saying that you guys came up to me all mixed up. Hold on. Well, they came mixed up about what? They came mixed up to ask you for spies. That led to the big sin that caused none of them to go into Eretz Yisrael. All of them died in the midbar, and it caused the beginning of Tisha B'Av that we're still commemorating to this day. And Moshe, all you have to think about is the fact that they came in mixed up. That's the big deal. That's what you're going to criticize them about. You're giving them tochacha. Here, pound them about the fact that they shouldn't have asked for spies. Pound them about the fact that they should have had faith in Hashem. Pound them about the fact that they shouldn't have believed the spies when they came. You're going to focus on this little detail that they came in mixed up, that they weren't giving. What's going on? So he quotes a Hagon. He says, Horowitz, I think. How do you pronounce his name in English? Let me look. He quotes a Yitzhak, Rabbi Yitzhak Mevolozhin. Okay, Rabbi Yitzhak Mevolozhin. He says it's Chotani, so it's his Chatan, his I guess his son-in-law. I guess. Sheba ze Musar lahagdil atochacha leikar masa meraglim, saying this, how they came to him, is the ikar, is the core mistake in the whole episode of the meraglim. Basher haya lahem natzel asher b'tchila. So from the very beginning, the fact that their excitement was not proper. They showed a disrespect for each other already then. And that disrespect is what we're commemorating on Tisha B'Av. That's the disrespect that continued when they trusted, the spies over Moshe, when they trusted the spies over Hashem, when the people were disrespecting each other with the Averot that they were doing that destroyed the first temple, when they were disrespecting each other with the sinat chinam that caused the destruction of the second temple. All of that is from this disrespect. It all comes down to this little tiny detail that they came arbuvia, that they came all mixed up. Kulchem. This is, I don't want to rant about it now, but this is such an important point in Judaism. Not just the aspect of how much we need to respect each other, which God willing we'll talk about on Shabbat, but the fact that a little detail snowballs into such an important thing. This week, I'm not going to rant about it, I promise. This week, I'm a member of different groups on Facebook, mostly for Kiev reasons, sometimes for informational reasons. So I'm a member of a group for Jewish humor, because I look for jokes to give over whatever in my speeches. I copy them down, the more appropriate ones, whatever. Anyway, so this week on that humor group, somebody posted, without any commentary, an advertisement from the 1940s. Jewish ladies, you can't put on lipstick on Shabbat. It's an advertisement for some sort of Shabbat lipstick, whatever. There's such technologies. So that's all. That's all, right? What's the joke? This is a humor group. This isn't like let's find old advertisements to post on Facebook group, right? This is a humor group. This is supposed to be a joke. So what you don't understand, perhaps, is that to people who aren't Orthodox, this is a joke. And everybody who hates Orthodoxy came out of this. Is a Jewish humor group. It's open to everybody. There's even non-Jews there. Everybody came out of the woodwork. Everybody. Oh, the rabbis are trying to control women by telling them what to do. Lipstick, right? So, this is the rabbis. I can't believe that how old-fashioned they are. Just because lipstick wasn't invented when the Torah was. Like every single possible kind of hate came out. This total sinat chinam exemplified this week, right before Tisha B'Av, on this group. And I commented a few times. If you're interested to learn about the halacha, you can talk to me privately. I'll be happy to explain it. A couple of people. It wasn't the biggest win for Kiev. I don't know how far it's going to go, but I at least try to explain Judaism to people who were interested. Yeah. In general, though, I made other general comments like, this is supposed to be, a safe group where we can tell jokes. This is not a joke. This is just literally bashing a group of people. But yeah, interesting. So yeah, I know. But one of the things that somebody said is, and this is what I really want to focus on, isn't it typical of the Orthodox to always focus on little details? Don't we have bigger problems in the world right now? Somebody said that. So it was interesting because I was reading this commentary, I was learning this commentary in preparation for this class. I'm like, yes, there are bigger problems in the world right now. There are huge problems in the world right now. Like this, for instance. What you guys are doing is a bigger problem in the world right now. It's bigger than lipstick. But we don't fixate on these little details. We just keep the halacha the best we can. And yes, we don't wear lipstick on Shabbat, men or women. for that matter, while we're on the subject. But I said it's a shame that you don't brush your teeth. And he said, what do you mean I don't brush my teeth? I said, what? There's bigger problems in the world. You're going to focus on a little detail like that? But we do. We all do. We all focus on little details. I saw somebody driving this today. They're driving and they were driving their truck and they had their boat attached in the back. And you're supposed to, when you put in when you attach your boat to your truck, I wouldn't know. I don't have a boat or right now a truck, but you're supposed to attach them so that when you turn on the turn signal on your boat, on the thing that's carrying your boat, whatever it's called, the chassis, whatever it's the chassis, I don't know what it's called, but the thing that's carrying the boat is supposed to also turn the turn signal on. And I saw somebody who was weaving from lane to lane properly. I mean, turning from lane to lane, but he didn't see the turn signal. So people were like in danger. And then when I got closer I was in another lane. When I got closer to the truck, I saw the truck was using its turn signals, but the person driving the truck forgot that little detail. It's a little detail. It's a little connection. It's okay. So a few people have to die. You forgot to connect a little wire. It's because little details matter. And the more important the thing is, the more that little detail matters. And yes, lipstick matters, and this matters, and bigger issues also matter. And we focus on as much as we can on everything. We're trying not to be OCD about these things. That could be a problem also, that happens. But what blessing to say on a food matters. What the food is, if you've eaten dairy and you're about to eat meat, not doing the 9 days, I know, but what time it was that you ate the dairy matters, right? All of yes, details matter is the point. And this little detail, especially in the Torah, every single letter matters. A detail like the fact that he said, you all came, arbuvia is an important thing. There's obviously an important lesson to learn from that. Okay, we're going to skip a whole verse. Actually, no, we're not skipping. Next verse. No skipping. All right, chapter 1, verse 23. Look at that. V'yitav be'inai, and it was good in my eyes. Hadavar. It was a good. I saw what you did. I saw what you did there, and I liked it. Says Moshe. Right, again, it's all first person here. All right. Ve'ekach mikem shnei masar nashim, and I picked 12 men, ish echad l'shavet, one man for each tribe. Okay. So Moshe saw it and it was good. And so the question is, what was good, Moshe? It was good. It was a good idea. Let's go send spies to double check if Hashem was telling the truth about the land. What was good? How could that have been a good thing? And it says v'yitav be'inai. I don't know. There's no other way to translate this. Safari says, I approved of the plan, which is just a nice way of saying it was a good idea. V'yitav be'inai was good in my eyes. So answers is Sforno. Moshe made a mistake. Sforno does not usually speak like that, but he says, Ki chashavti. Moshe says, I thought shelo haya safek atzlechem bedavar hakel yitbarach. I couldn't imagine, I wouldn't have thought that you guys had any doubts about Hashem. You weren't asking for spies because you doubted Hashem. I thought I was wrong, right? But I thought that you had no doubts about the land, that you were going to send these spies into the land, all because you wanted the details. Tell us about this place. We're about to enter. Good. We bought that real estate. Now we just want to, we want pictures. We want somebody to go in and tell us what it's like. What's the color of the tile? What are the cabinets made of? Whatever it is. What's the size of the pool, right? Oh, there's a pool. Right. So is there a pool? We're going. We're gung ho about. I hope that's still an appropriate phrase to say. We're all in. I don't know. It's not English. I know. I don't know which are appropriate anymore. So we're all in. We're invested. We're doing this. We're doing this thing. We got this. The question is, like, give us some details. And we know Hashem's going to help us conquer it, and we know we're going to get it, and everything else. No doubts. So that's what Moshe is saying. I made that mistake. That's what Yitav be'inav. It was good in my eyes. In other words, you had good intentions, or as far as I could see. So that's an important thing. So there are different opinions about what that whole verse means, but at least the way Sforno understands it is Moshe is telling the Jewish people, I was wrong. I thought that you had good intentions in what we were doing. Okay, we have, I think, time for two more pieces. I hope. We're summarizing here, and of course, you have the sources here available on Sefaria. If you want to look at them inside, I strongly recommend it. I'm barely skimming this. I'm barely skimming the surface of the sources. Right? It's only like a couple of lines of the sources. There's a lot more that Sforno says over there, but alas, time is what it is, and we have to keep going. Okay, chapter 1, verse 37. Chapter 1, verse 37. We're still in chapter 1. We're going to skip, by the way, chapter 2. We're going to look at a comment on chapter 3, but we're now towards the end of chapter 1, verse 37. So very, very interesting question. And there's a lot of commentary on this. And I think we talked about it last year as well. So in this whole incident of the spies, towards the end, Moshe says, Gam bi hitanaf Hashem. Hashem also became angry with me, biglalech, biglalechem, because of you. And he said, Ki ata lo tavo sham. And now he said to me, I'm not going to enter there either. I'm also not going to enter into Eretz Yisrael. So again, Moshe is saying, because you guys sent spies and because I agreed and everything else, because of that, Hashem became angry with me. And therefore, I'm not going to go into the land of Israel. What is unusual about this whole situation?
Didn't Hashem also prove that Moshe thought it was a good idea?
Well, first of all, yes. Moshe, at least the way the Torah itself in Parshat Shlach tells us the incident, doesn't mention any of this. There's no like the Jewish people asked me and then all that. So it's basically Hashem told Moshe to send the spies. So it's all really weird to begin with, right? But other than that, do you remember Moshe being punished and not being allowed to go into the land? Yeah, he doesn't go into the land, right? There you go. There's a rock. There's a Mei Mariva situation. There's a rock he's supposed to talk to, and he doesn't talk to it. He hits it twice. He gets angry at the Jewish people. There's different commentaries explaining what it is exactly that he did wrong. And if you want to look over there, our class, we've dealt with this question many times. There's I'm trying to compile some of these answers. There's literally probably a book's worth of answers about what Moshe is being punished for, but none of them are this. None of them is what Moshe is saying here, that he's not going to the land of Israel because he sent spies. That doesn't happen. And this conversation where Hashem tells Moshe that you're not going into the land because you sent spies didn't happen in Shlach. So what's going on here? For this kind of question, we need the genius of people like Rav Shimon Schwab. And he says in Mayim Beis Shoeva, Tzarich biur shehasiba shelo nichnas Moshe Rabbeinu le'eretz lo hayta biglal chet hameraglin. Wasn't because of the sin of the spies that he didn't go. El be'emet mei meriva, like you said, it was the rock. Amasha inyane be'emsa parshat hameraglim. So what does this have to do with the whole spy situation? So just to we bring up I quoted his question. and maybe you can come up with your own answers, but I'm just going to skip to his answers. His answer. He says, "V'ulai yesh lomar shuchachichem Moshe divreihem asu ktsat roshem gam alav." Very important idea. Over and over and over again, the Jewish people have been complaining, Moshe, why did you take us out of Egypt? Moshe, we're going to die in the Yam Suf. Moshe, we're going to die of thirst. Moshe, we're going to die of hunger. Moshe, we want meat. And all of this stuff is always Moshe, 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 Moshe. Like, like in the Brady Bunch, Marsha. It's always Marsha. I hear it's always Moshe, Moshe, Moshe. Why, Moshe? Why'd you do this to us? And Moshe is always answering, "Don't blame me. It's not me. I didn't do it. Why you keep blaming me? I'm not." And then when Moshe does something, and then when Hashem has Moshe do something right, they're like, "Thank you, Moshe." Like, don't thank me. I'm just a conduit here. Hashem tells me to lift up a staff. I lift up a staff. He parts the water. It's not me. It's not my magic or anything. But over and over and over again, Jewish people are blaming him for the things they don't like. They're thanking him for the things they do like. Over time, says Rav Schwab, over time, divreihem asuk tzat roshem gam alav. Their words finally made an impact on him. A small little impact, little scratch of a dent in his armor, barely visible. If he was renting a car, this scratch he wouldn't be charged for, right? But finally, there's a little tiny chink in his armor, and he says to them, and that's what led to the Mei Meriva. Finally, he's like, "You want to see my power?" Again, this is a little, I'm exaggerating this. This is not what Moshe said. And he hits the rock out of his own volition, right? He was told to talk to it, and he uses his own quote unquote magic, and he hits the rock to show them what his power is. That little scratch in his armor came from years and years and years of the Jewish people over and over again saying that he had some sort of power, including here. This event, this Meraglim event, this is the straw that broke the camel's back, according to Rav Schwab. This is the thing that really broke down his defense to the point where Mei Meriva was just an open invitation to just do whatever you want. So over there, after 40 years, right? After 40 years of leading the Jewish people, Moshe here recognizes that all of that really happened because of you. Hashem is upset with me because of you. You're the one who wore me down to the point where, even though you wore me down a little by little by little, eventually, this is what happens. Og, I don't think we're going to get to you today. We're overtime, and I have places to be. So God willing, next year, Devarim, we'll talk about chapter 3, verse 11, and why we're what we're doing with his measurements and all of that. And Rav Zalman Saroskin's brilliant. You should maybe I'll leave the source here also if you want to look it up in the Hebrew. Brilliant explanation of why we measure Og's measurements according to himself. But we'll have to leave that for next year. Meanwhile, I hope everybody has an easy fast and a good Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for listening, and everybody should take care. Bye-bye.